Welcome to our podcast, Parenting by the Pint. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, Minivan Mafia. Lauren and I are longtime friends from Chicagoland that love getting together to chat about life, kids, family, and beer.
Each week, we'll feature a brewery and sample at least 2 of their beers.
We'll also discuss a variety of topics ranging from parenting, pop culture, travel, marriage, and just about anything else that comes to mind.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey, Lauren, how you doing?
Good. All right, we are back at it again.
Yep. Still in Grand Rapids, Michigan this week.
We are. Well, we're in Kentwood, but yes.
Well,
close.
Yes.
Very close. So super interesting. We're going to talk about Broad Leaf Brewery tonight. And we're going to drink. I've never had them. I'm going to drink a couple of beers from them and chat about some stuff.
Chat about some stuff.
Right?
And drink some beer. It's
perfect.
Last time we talked about hobbies, and that's my favorite hobby. We just listed it.
That's totally
Drink a couple
accurate.
beers and chat about some things.
I like it. Yeah, frankly, that's what I like to do on a regular basis.
Me too.
Fantastic. All right, well, we're going to drink Broadleaf. We're going to start with a hazy IPA. They're from Kentwood, Michigan, which is pretty much Grand Rapids. And Cosmic Fruition is what we're going to drink.
Yep.
All right. Oh.
Go ahead and pop that baby open. I want to point out, although maybe you'll mention it, that the cans have Braille on them.
Yeah, so interesting. So let me start with Broad Leaf Brewing is actually owned by the same people that we talked about last time, which is Brewery Vivant. And Brewery Vivant is actually who started with the Braille on their cans in 2019. So a few years ago. I mean, maybe not started. There's probably other places that have them.
Sure.
But they were kind of sponsoring an art installation periodically, and one of the installations that they did was trying to get more inclusivity and working with the disabled community, and so they actually started putting Braille on some of their cans.
Okay.
And since Broadleaf is the weird cousin brewery of Vivant, they actually did it as well. So it seems like periodically, I don't know if Broadleaf does it with everything or not. Vivant kind of only does it with certain beers. But that's when it started, was in 2019, to try and promote some of that inclusivity and whatnot. And yeah, so interesting. I only found one other brewery out of Cincinnati that actually currently has Braille on their cans. I couldn't find any others. Kirin does. Japanese cans.
Oh, yeah.
Have them on actually
them.
the top, though, of their cans. So these are along the side. And I think it just says Kirin on theirs, but they also have cans, not all of them, but they have cans with Braille on them as well.
Nice.
So yeah, so a handful. I think it's a really cool thing to do for, some of the disabled community, and I think it's just very, very cool, just tidbit, something unique.
Yeah.
And I like it. I clearly can't understand Braille, but people that obviously can read that, I'm sure it's really cool to have a beer that has that on it, that you don't need to be able to read the can, that you can actually read it in your own way.
Yeah.
I
think it's a very nice feature. Something that I noticed when we were at the brewery right away. Yeah. And I love it. And I was very excited to bring home some of their beer.
Yeah, it is very cool. So yeah, so again, it started in 2019. I'm not sure if they do it all the time, but it was in collaboration with this kind of art installation project that they were doing, and also that particular project was highlighting some work of the disabled community, and they did this in conjunction with that. So yeah, nice. Very cool, very unique as well.
Yes.
So all right, well, let's give this hazy IPA a shot.
Yes, let's drink Cosmic Fruition.
Mm-hmm. Smells like an IPA. Very hazy, like a hazy IPA. I mean, this
smells and tastes like a hazy IPA. Ooh. It's a little lighter on the flavor than some of the ones that we've had more recently. I think mostly because it's not a double, it's single.
Yeah, I feel like we've had a lot of double IPAs. I also feel like, though, this, it is a little bit more kind of dialed down with the aftertaste too, even from a regular IPA. So you definitely get like the hoppiness a bit, but some IPAs have a little bit more bite on the end to them than this one does. And I feel like this is a little bit more mellow. In terms of the taste than some. It's still very IPA. You're not going to mistake this for anything else.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, in look and flavor and aroma, it's definitely a classic IPA.
Yeah.
A hazy.
It's very much a hazy.
Because it's not, they don't mistake it for something else.
It's not this is a hazy IPA through and through. But I've had a few sips of it, and definitely that last kind of at the finish to it doesn't have kind of the bitterness that a lot of IPAs, even just regular IPAs, have.
I agree. It's a little creamier.
I would agree.
Some of the ones that we've maybe gotten a little more used to.
Yeah.
And in a positive way. I mean, I like when an IPA stands out a little bit, even if it's not
because of that bitterness.
My target flavor. Everybody has, at least I hope you do, if you've had more than a few IPAs, everybody has a favorite.
Sure.
You know which one you like, which one combines the flavors the best. Hop combinations play a big part in that with IPAs. Yep. And I feel like this one has a little bit of a different flavor that makes it stand out a little bit compared to a lot of IPAs that are kind of the same.
Yeah, no, it's got a good flavor. You're right. It is definitely creamier. I had to look at the can. It's actually it's a pretty high ABV. It's 6.8%, which surprised me from the taste because you don't.
No, I don't get that at all.
I don't get that. I actually would have expected it to be less because it's a little bit creamier, smoother.
Right.
So
it doesn't
it's
have
kind
that
of a deceiving.
Burn.
Higher. I mean, it's not high. It's 6.8, but it's not a session. It's not, a 5. Right. So I actually am kind of surprised by that. It's a very smooth 6.8% IPA for sure. And on the end, you're not, some people that don't like that hoppiness and that bitter kind of finish to it, this doesn't have that at all. This is very smooth.
Absolutely. This might be a good intro to IPAs if you're looking to get somebody into them, you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, this totally is because a lot of people don't like that finish that has that extra hoppiness to it, or whatever that bitterness that you actually taste. But this is really smooth. It's very creamy. So
totally.
It might be a good starter IPA, but again, be careful. That 6.8% is surprising with this.
It'll kick you if you drink 2 or 3 of these.
I wouldn't expect that from this at all.
Absolutely.
So, super interesting. I like it though. IPA is definitely, one of my, top beer styles. I mean, doubles really are, but I mean, I, never used to love IPAs because I didn't really like beer, and that's a kind of over-the-top flavor.
Yes.
And now I really enjoy them. So totally switched styles. But
I get that.
I'm a
100%.
fan, so this is pretty good. But yeah, so all right, Broad Leaf Brewery and Spirits, actually.
Okay.
They also delved into kind of the vodka and gin realms. So they actually won a silver medal for their gin and their cocktail program from the American Distilling Institute recently.
Nice.
So I've never had their spirits, obviously, but they're doing that too. So Broad Leaf Brewing, I mentioned briefly earlier, they are owned by the same people as Brewery Vivant, which we talked about previously. This one opened in 2019. So they've been struggling through the bad times and clearly have made it because they are also opening a second location in the fall of this year, actually.
Wow.
And they are kind of trying to keep both of their locations that will actually be in Grand Rapids proper.
Okay.
So, but they're trying to keep them both having some unique beers that are only in one or the other, so they're not the exact copycat of each other.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's set to open. They already have the lease. That's set to open in the fall sometime of this year. So shortly,
nice.
I would say. They really focus on emerging beer styles and spirits and different flavor explorations. They have the same values of kind of community building and sustainability and whatnot as the other brewery, since they are owned by the same husband and wife couple. But this one kind of started as just like a side project. So they have they bought this big open old furniture showroom, which is where they're currently at. And their original plan was just going to be a big warehouse for Vivant.
Okay.
And then they were like, we have all this space, like let's utilize it for something else. And they actually said, well, let's try a completely different concept, because Vivant typically, other than what we drank, is more farmhouse saisons. Like they really wanted to stick with their core, those core competencies. So this was really supposed to be the like, let's be experimental. Let's come up with new kind of different flavors. Let's be the ability to be more inventive, do much more small batch things. Okay. So not doing the same thing over and over. If you come in and you really like a beer, you may never have it again, because they're doing a lot of small batch kind of new and exciting, different brewing. So it really stemmed off of the Vivant has their own, identity. And we want to try something new. So we're going to open this. Some people, I said earlier, said it's like their weird cousin. But it's just kind of another outlet for a different type of project. So they also went into the vodka, gin, spirits. Those are the primary ones right now. They also focus on quality of food, and they locally source a lot of them. I haven't eaten there, but they said a lot of their dishes there actually have kind of a Southeast Asian kind of feel, which complements some of these different tastes and flavors of the beers that are a little bit more unique. So that was their goal in opening Broadleaf, was really to kind of do something different and have the kind of the ability to try new things and be inventive. And that seems to be what they're doing. They also have kind of a little arcade there. They have a pretty cool atmosphere from what it sounds like. So super interesting side kind of project that's taken off and seems to be just as popular as really their initial investment in the initial brewery. So now they've got two to run.
Hey man, why not?
Yeah, so pretty cool. So when they were interviewed, I kind of gave a couple fun facts before. One of the interesting questions that they were asked was, what was the worst drink that they've ever had? Worst alcoholic drink.
Okay.
And so Chris, the wife, said peach schnapps right off the bat.
Nice. Yeah, sure.
And then Jason gave a story about how when he was in Chicago this one time some sort of beer related outing, he went to a bar and the locals ordered him a shot. And he noticed that no one else was drinking the same shot as him, but he was the only one drinking it.
Oh God. I know what you're going to say.
Malort.
He got a Malort. Of course he did. That's what we do, you guys.
And that was the most memorable, worst drink that he could recall was Malort. So.
Oh, Malort.
Which is totally accurate, but.
We're so proud of it here. It's so despicable that we can't help but share it with people. Like, I used to do that, and I'm not going to name the liqueur. I tried a liqueur at one point
and you were like,
that I absolutely hated. Just awful. And it's weird because if I told you what it was, you would be surprised that I don't like it. Because it sounds like something I would like.
Oh, I totally know what it is.
And I do not like it at all. It is yucky and gross. And I went through a period of ordering it for people.
Others.
Yeah. I was like, no, you should get that. No, yeah, you should try it. Oh,
totally
yeah, it's really good.
Totally.
It's sweet, but it's also tart. No. It's perfect. You're going to love it.
I don't think anyone tells people they're going to love Malort. I think they just put it down.
They're like, here, I got this for you.
And that's pretty much it. So.
It's poison.
It's like dirty socks, but it's
so
yeah,
gross.
But so I felt
it.
like I needed to share since that
Thank
was
goodness.
yes his worst drink. So anyway, so that's
He's
what I
experienced
have.
enough to
Yes.
be able to give that as an answer, and we can respect it.
Yes,
for sure.
He's been around.
Because if that's in your wheelhouse, you've had your worst drink.
Yep, exactly.
For sure.
So anyway, that's a little about Broad Leaf and their owners.
I love it. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed our time at Broad Leaf. It was the day we arrived in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
It was near our hotel in Kentwood.
Oh, nice.
And which was basically just outside Grand Rapids.
Yes.
I would have almost called them the same town, but you are right. It's a little bit of a suburb, quote unquote, of
very
Grand
close.
Rapids. We were probably about 10 minutes away from like the downtown area, if you will. And, just it was convenient and the beer was good. The kids did go to the arcade a little bit, which was nice.
Yeah.
And it was just a good time, easy for us.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to visit. I did enjoy the Braille on the cans, like you mentioned.
Yep.
And I thought that was such a nice feature.
Yeah, I like it. I like the sentiment there.
Yeah. And this hazy IPA is pretty good.
It
right?
is. It is pretty tasty. Yeah.
So let's talk. Let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk. Because that's
what we're talking about.
That's what we do. We're going to talk about talk.
We are.
We're going to talk about emotional support.
Yes.
Who do you go to? What do you rely on people for?
Yes.
How do you get emotional support?
Yes. Yes.
And, just like always, I think back to what I needed for emotional support as a child. And I will say, without hesitation, that as a child, for me, emotional support was crying to my mother. Pretty much always, to the point where I will say that one of the most commonly used phrases by my mother when I was a child was, "Stop crying, Kara."
Aww.
And she didn't say it because she was being mean or disciplining me. It was just so often that occasionally she needed to ask me to stop crying. I will admit that I cried a lot as a child, and I have a little bit of a crier in my 8-year-old. He doesn't straight up cry, but he does rage, and I get that vibe, which is similar to myself. So he's an emotional kid.
Fair.
And I think as a child, I was also emotional. That same child, to kind of branch right into my kids,
go for
if I
it.
were to talk about their emotional support system, which is what we're really talking about.
Yes.
My 8-year-old will literally push my husband out of the way to come to me to tell me what is happening to him in an emotional sense.
Yeah.
He just, it's not that he doesn't think my husband is helpful, because to be honest with you, I think my husband is more helpful than I am.
You.
I think I am like, it's like talking to a rock. I feel like I've got nothing to give most of the time. And I will say that I actually preface a lot of my early friendships with, by the way, if an emotional situation comes up and you come and you talk to me about it, just know that I have no way of expressing the proper emotions to support you. It's not that I don't support you. It's that if you come up to me and you tell me something like really serious or sad, I will just be like, oh man.
I don't have the...
I'm sorry.
Yeah. The capacity to
express emotion well.
Fair.
Express sympathy well. It's not that I'm apathetic.
No.
It's that I have a very hard time expressing myself in words.
Totally reasonable.
And so
a lot of people do. Yeah.
Yes. And I try to, because I think that makes me a better friend by being upfront with my friends about it.
Yeah.
I try to tell them, listen, when this situation arises, because it will, for friends long enough.
At some point, it will, yes.
You're going to tell me something that's not just like, oh, we had a really fun vacation.
Right.
You're going to tell me something serious, like something happened with your family, or something happened to you, or something happened with your child,
eventually
or your job.
That's going to happen.
And it's going to be a serious conversation, and I need you to know before that comes up that I will not handle it well. even though it's not about me.
just understand that is how you are, and that is okay.
I work on it.
That's all right. And sometimes it's easier just to understand yourself.
Yes.
And
I think that I am better about it because I have children.
I feel like that's totally the case, yeah.
Because I want my children to be able to express themselves and explain what's happening to them rather than just like bursting into tears. Because, there's a time for that, but then eventually you have to grow up and you can't do that.
Yes.
Something is upsetting you. I need you to tell me what it is. I can't just watch you cry.
Yep.
You
totally
need to
valid.
You need to be able to move beyond that, and in order to do that, we need to eventually have a conversation.
Yes.
And so, as a parent, I think that has allowed me to figure out the best way to be compassionate and loving and supportive, which is not something that I thought I was very good at for a very long time.
I think kids definitely help with that. My children are also somewhat emotional. They keep it under wraps pretty well, but like. They are emotional, but they'll like run to the room and be emotional. But I can tell like when they are. And the twins definitely, I feel like, open up to me more than my husband. But that might just be because of when it happens or, whatever. It might just be a coincidence. But they definitely we are their support system right now. But also each other, I think, is a bit... they're very close. That's good. So, but there's also really sometimes that, like, my daughter will say something to my mother, then my mother will say it to me, and I'll be like, I had no idea she was upset about this.
I was about to give that for my kids,
is
that occasionally my children, for some reason, will talk to my mom about how hard their lives are. Like, when my 8-year-old didn't have enough socks, in his opinion, he didn't have enough. He told my mom that... a combination of things. He explained that I don't do his laundry often enough, and also he doesn't have enough socks, and he's always running out of socks, and sometimes he has to wear his shoes without socks. And my mother, of course,
it's like, oh my God,
you poor child.
Right,
it's like he's homeless.
Yeah.
Like, does anyone love him? And I'm over here going, dude, if you put on the last pair and you have a laundry basket full of laundry, then either say something,
right,
and I will help you do your laundry,
yes,
or bring it downstairs
and do the laundry,
the laundry, / bring it down, and we will do it laundry.
Exactly.
In some fashion, it's gonna get done.
If you have an overflowing laundry basket, perhaps the socks are all in there.
Maybe just. Like, mention it to someone.
Also, I'm not monitoring your laundry basket. Like, no, you're really old enough to do that now.
Yeah. My mother will quite often mention when she comes here and babysits, which is about once a week.
Sure.
Sometimes not that often. And she'll quite often mention, oh my goodness, the laundry basket was so full. I had to do 2 loads. It wasn't even just 1 load. And in my head, I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
because
it happens.
Hey, man, sometimes when I'm off on the weekend, I do a load of each of my kids' laundry, and sometimes I don't.
Yep.
And if I don't, it does pile up. I get it.
I get it.
And my husband is the same way.
Yeah.
Sometimes he'll do a load of their laundry when he's off, and sometimes he doesn't. Yeah. And if he doesn't, then we get a pile of laundry.
I get it. We could do laundry every day, and we'd still goodness. I'm not even.
Should have done my own laundry today.
Also
and I
that.
Didn't.
Yeah. Also that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it surprises me the things that they'll like say to my mother.
Yes, right.
That I'm like, I am all ears. I am always here if you need to talk about something. But I mean, if you're comfortable with grandma, I mean, I'm glad you're comfortable with other people. But I'm also always here to listen and be supportive. So I think I think the goal obviously is to have my children feel that I am someone that they can go for emotional or other support.
Absolutely.
For sure. But as they get older, I'm sure they will find their own kind of, who they're comfortable talking with about different things. So before we kind of continue, this all started, like my thought on this topic started because my friend was listening to a podcast and she mentioned the podcast, and they were talking about, this was kind of offhanded, came up, and the husband on one thing said, "Oh, I know that I am not like my wife's emotional support. That's her group chat with her friends. I'm the one who she comes to if there is drama in said group chat, or there is something that is not to her liking. I'm next, but her girlfriends are the first line of defense, and then me," is what the husband said. And I was like, it's kind of interesting and to think about. So that's why I was kind of like, oh, this is something interesting to talk about, because that's where it stemmed from.
Absolutely. And I would say for me personally, to start talking about this, I would say for me personally, I'm in a similar situation. I don't have a group chat.
Sure.
I've never been really part of a group of friends.
I've left a few group chats.
Yeah. So like when we were in middle school, we had kind of a group that you and I were a part of. Yeah. Kinda.
Right.
And then high school, the group became either like the honors kids or I was in band and I had kind of a band group. Kind of.
But that wasn't a core, we're always going to talk thing.
Was a mixture of people that were different ages, that were different genders, and it wasn't like, oh, I go to this group to discuss, like, the boy I have a crush on, or not making the basketball team.
I don't think that was a thing when I was younger at all. Yeah.
As an adult, I have kind of a couple of places that I go for emotional support. I will eventually mention my husband.
Sure.
But not
He's on the list eventually.
Yeah. When I'm a person who needs to talk through things. Not because I necessarily need you to tell me what to do, but because I have to say it out loud enough times to process whatever it is that I'm processing. Either bad news, or I have a conflict with somebody, or whatever the thing, or I'm just worried about something.
Sure. Yeah.
Whatever the thing is, I have to say it out loud enough times to have it go through my brain and me be able to move past it, whatever that is, whatever that requires, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And so for me, I have to vent. Venting is how I process things.
Yeah.
When something happens that I have to work through it, I have this line of defense, individuals that I talk to, and sometimes it's just complaining, and sometimes it's I need advice. And my brother is one of those people. I talk to my brother a lot. We're very close. We work together. I probably talk to him every day. Even today, for example, my brother hasn't been at work for a couple of days because he's been sick. He went in this afternoon. I was already gone for the day, which is actually kind of why he went in, because nobody was at work. It was like really quiet today. And so he didn't want to potentially make anyone sick.
Sure.
So he was kind of by himself. Yeah. And after he was already long gone from work and I was home and after dinner time, I was just hanging out at my house. My brother calls me and we just chatted about random things. Yeah. Not work, not family stuff. Just what's going on with you, what's going on with me. And I'm very close to my brother. Yeah. And that example kind of demonstrates that. We just have conversations quite regularly with each other. It's nice. Just to kind of be involved in each other's lives.
To know what's going on, That's nice,
It is nice. I feel that way about you.
Yeah.
You and I vent in little bursts, I feel like, sometimes.
Yeah.
Where most of the time it's when we get together to record, but also every once in a while I'll just send you a message on Facebook and be like, check this out. And I'm like, this was dumb. And you're just like, that is dumb. Why was that person like that? And then we just both go back to whatever we were doing before.
Yeah, totally. Oh, yeah, we both totally do that, which is kind of nice because sometimes neither of us wants to get sucked into a long conversation about something, but we're just like, I want to share this with somebody.
Yeah, so this happened, I called this person and they said this and it really made me mad. And then you'll be like, that's stupid. And I'll be like, yes. And then you're like, okay, see you later. And then I'm like, all right.
That's totally how it works, which is kind of great.
It is great. Sometimes, like I said, I just need to say it out loud.
Right.
And if I say it enough times... If I say it to you and I say it to my brother and I say it to my friend Catherine is another person I would mention and put on this list. If I say it to the three of you, most often,
all right,
that
we're better
covers
now.
me. That's like, okay, I've said it enough times. Yeah. Sometimes additional people get pulled in. My mom is someone who is easily the most loving and compassionate person. I have said it 50 million times on this podcast. She's a very loving and compassionate person. I like talking to her about these things. The only reason I wouldn't put my mom closer to the top of the list is because what I love about you and Catherine and even sometimes my brother is that sometimes you'll match my outrage.
Yes.
And sometimes that's what I need.
I totally
like
get
when
that,
I'm like, this thing happened and this person said this to me, you are immediately like, no, that's stupid.
I believe the one day I was like, I'm mad for you.
Yes. There was a conversation that you and I had about a week and a half ago where I told you about something that someone said to my son, and I was upset about it, and you were like, you should be more upset about it. And I was kind of like, well, I need to calm down. And you were like, no, it's not time for that. And I was sort of like, yes, this is what I want. I want her to be outraged with me. Yes. I wanted you to do that.
We need the... That's the interesting thing, though, is like there's different topics that I will also discuss with different people.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like, what do I need support of? And also what kind of support do I need? So like there's a meme that's out there that's all over the place. It's essentially like you have two best friends. One's logical and one like makes you do stupid shit.
Right.
And like that's totally accurate in a lot of ways. And like I have different groups of friends, but like my friend Barb and Megan are those two complete opposites.
Yeah.
Like 100%. And they know exactly which role they both play. Like, and it's completely accurate because like one of them's like up here, one of them's down. It's just like it's just different. Like depending
and you
on
go
what
to the one you need at the time.
Right. And it's like you know who those people are for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like so now to bring my husband into it. My husband is very caring and but not a big like let's talk this out kind of guy.
Yes.
He doesn't really do that. If I need somebody to be outraged with me, he's not the person that I can go to for that.
Yeah.
If I need to be calmed down, if I need somebody to take me back off the ledge, he's perfect for that.
Yeah.
If I'm like, this thing happened and I'm really upset, and he will be like, you know what? Let's hang out. Let's relax. We want to talk about something else. You want to do that? You want to talk about this some more? He's perfect for that reeling scenario. Me in.
Which is great.
And I need that.
Yeah,
he needs to be, this is a system. It's not a person, it's a system.
Yep.
And I need the person who's going to be like, hold on a second.
Yeah. When it's that,
maybe it's not time to flip out.
Maybe this isn't as bad as you think it is. On the times that you need that. But that's why like there are a handful of people that I was friends with years ago. Not really currently, but there are some people that like have one person and that's it. Or it's their significant other and that's it. And like I don't even think that's healthy. Like, I think you need different people for different things in your life.
I think it's a little dangerous to expect somebody to be your entire emotional support system.
Right?
It's why I mention my mom, but don't have her listed as the only person that I go to.
For sure.
Because I think a lot of people rely on their parents to be their support. And like you said, when your kids are little, that's reasonable. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's great that your kids rely on each other a little bit, even if that's early or very rare.
Yeah.
The fact that they do it even a little bit is great.
Yeah.
I see my kids do that a little bit when something goes wrong. Occasionally, the other one will be like, "Are you all right? Did you get hurt? Are you okay?" And it's very comforting to see them try to be there for each other, even if it's never.
My side note, the twins today, I don't even remember what happened, but my daughter went to give her twin a hug. And she goes, and he was like not into it. And she goes, "It's not a hug unless you hug me back."
Ooh.
And he was like, "Fine."
Awesome.
And like they're normally like they're very close, but it was just really funny to me that she was like,
so
"It's
funny.
not a hug unless you hug me back."
I love it. My mom will occasionally do that with me and my brother, who are both not touchy. Like,
yes.
One thing I share with my brother is we are not like physical people.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's not like I hug my brother before I leave for a vacation and I see him at dinner the night before or something. It just doesn't happen. Have a nice trip.
Sure. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, which is fine.
That's it. That's the end.
It is interesting, the people who hug and people who don't hug, because like sometimes you're in a group with someone you know isn't a hugger, but there's a bunch of other people that don't realize that person isn't a hugger, so they're all like hugging goodbye, and then you get to each other and you're like, I know this isn't normal. So it's like weird.
I try to let people know about my lack of desire to be touched, I also don't allow it to like harm a situation.
Yeah.
So like for example, we're going on a trip together, and some of the people aren't people that I have hung out with much at all, or on just a few occasions.
Yeah.
And so they don't know me, and I don't know them. I don't know how they feel about that. Yeah. I don't know how, do you want to sit right next to me? Do you want me to give
do we
you
need some space? Yeah.
Do you need to go for a walk later? Like,
everybody's very different. True.
And you don't know what people need emotionally. And I like to think that even though I do not like to be touched, if we all get together and we're in the house and one of them walks up to me and is like, oh my goodness, so nice to meet you, and gives me a hug, I'm not going to be like, don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, nice to meet you as well.
Yes, fair.
And if at some point, if it was actually relevant or important, I would mention, I'm not much of a toucher. Otherwise,
which is
a
fine.
Social event with a person that lasts a night or a couple of days, probably unnecessary to give someone grief about that.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah. But everybody in that, like some people, like my children, are huge huggers. Yeah. All the time. Like, even my oldest, who doesn't really talk, will come up to you and say, want a hug? Like, he will ask for hugs, like, regularly. And so will the twins. Like, they're all, like, exceedingly affectionate children. So it's interesting.
My oldest is that way, and it's really funny because my husband is also, like, physical touch is a thing for him as well. And so I think that's probably where my oldest basically gets it, but, like, my oldest is like that, and my youngest is like me. Yeah. And because they're kids, and they interact with each other because they're also siblings, right? You see that dynamic play out in the worst possible ways a lot. And so, because the oldest knows the youngest doesn't like to be touched. And the youngest has zero tolerance for being touched by his brother because he knows better.
Because he knows,
And so that little balance there goes the wrong direction a lot.
I can see that.
And so, like, big brother will touch little brother, and little brother will be like, don't touch me. And then big brother will take that as a cue to continue
annoying
touching
the crap
him
out of the
as much
brother.
as possible.
Yeah.
And so, as a result, things escalate very quickly when you know someone's weakness.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. And when you're siblings, I mean, that's kind of,
Yes.
Yeah, but...
So, yeah, we get a lot of that. Although I like to think that someday they'll be friends.
I feel like when they get older, they'll probably be closer. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I asked my husband this question, and his response was, I don't have an emotional support system.
This is just like the Upsides of COVID episode where he was just like, nothing, I'm dead inside.
And I was like, hi, over here. And I can see that because, like, with his guy friends, I feel like he could call somebody and be like, hey, I don't know how to fix this motor, or I need, like, very specific directional things. But I cannot see him calling someone being like, this bothered me and I need to talk about it.
Yeah.
At all.
I mean, I don't really have that relationship with your husband, but he has certainly never been like, oh, this is really troubling for me. Like, even at the times where we've had an opportunity to have, like, a real conversation, which doesn't happen very often.
He generally doesn't, though, which probably isn't healthy either.
Maybe you should see a therapist.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta talk to somebody.
I also fully support therapy. I feel like there's
me too.
Bunch of people that I'm like, oh, you need to be in therapy.
I feel terrible saying this because it's like the worst possible excuse, but allowing myself to have the time to commit to something like therapy is my excuse for not doing it. And it's a terrible excuse. It's the worst one.
It really is, yeah.
There's no
agree.
excuse for not going to therapy.
Yeah.
You have 30 minutes
And one of my good friends just does telehealth. Like, literally just, like, on the phone, like, hey, I need to talk to somebody. And I think there are significant benefits for people to
100%.
talk to someone who is not involved in their day-to-day life. Yeah. Which I think is how people, like... The internet is interesting because, like, I'm in all of these moms groups and stuff, and I'm in a lot of special needs moms groups. Sure. And I think that a lot of people get that therapy but not therapist from people that aren't involved in their day-to-day life, but they can literally just vent to and say, I had the worst day, this is what happened. And if you get that out, it's better than not saying it at all.
Absolutely.
I would say that there are different people I vent to about different things. I would say for the most part, my husband is the only person I vent to about my oldest.
Yeah.
With few exceptions. Like if it's like I have opened up more, I feel like in the last year or so to people. Like I've mentioned stuff to you, I've mentioned stuff to my friend Megan.
Yeah.
But prior to that, like I really didn't talk about his struggles much to almost anybody except for my husband. And that's a big stress on us is that topic in general. And I think that my husband as well, I'm not sure how many people he has talked to it about outside me. So I feel like guys have very different relationships though with their friends than women do.
Yes, I do. Not to get off of that, but I will say that you do bring up a very interesting point, that your things that you are the most vulnerable about are the things that group of individuals that maybe you view as your support system really shrinks that group.
Very much.
Because, and you're right, I think that's where your spouse maybe comes in a little bit, is because sometimes those moments where you really, I had what I would call like a very minor health scare a few years ago. And I never said a word to anybody except for my husband. Yeah. And it was at a time where something had happened at work we had an employee pass away very suddenly. It was awful and terrible. And it was right at that same time that I was worried about this thing that was going on that turned out to be nothing. Which is great. By the way.
But also But
I never said a word to anybody. And even my conversations with him were sort of like, oh, I got to go for this scan or whatever. And I made no big deal about it. And in my head, I was like, I should get my affairs in order. Like in my head, I was like, this is it. This is game over.
Agreed. Like there's been a handful of times, and it kind of does depend on what else is going on too, whether you want to like burden people with. Like that's a me thing. Do I worry someone else when I'm like, I don't know, but I still am worried myself? Like, it's that weird fine line. And then you're right though. If someone passed away, like you're also on top of that thinking, oh, they already have this other thing to deal with.
Yes.
Do I want to add another worry? And I'm really bad about that. I definitely think about, oh, well, they're probably busy with blah blah blah.
Right.
Like they don't want to hear about my problem, so it's, which isn't a healthy way to think about it. Like if they're your friend, they want to hear about it anyways, but I think we all handle things in our own way. But you're right, like when it's a significant like thing, your support system definitely shrinks to who you're the most comfortable sharing that information with.
And sometimes that can be somebody different. I mean, I think that when you think about what areas of your life maybe become the most troubling or can be the most troubling. Perhaps, maybe if you're having an issue with your spouse, you go to a specific friend because they're going to relate to you without judging you, because they're connected to your spouse, but they're not like best friends with your spouse.
Yeah, for sure.
And then on a separate occasion, maybe you have a work issue and something and you're stressed about that, and you go and you talk to like your mom about your work
Someone
issue.
Who's not involved.
Yeah, because if you talk to your husband about it, maybe he worries about money now because you mentioned a work problem. Yeah. And maybe you're not ready for that. You don't. It's not a money issue. It's a
stressed about the stupid thing that went wrong at work. Yeah. Agreed. Like I don't talk to my parents about my husband because I don't want them to have a negative impression of him if it's not a big deal and they really don't need to be aware
I'm
of
the
it.
same way.
So,
the only complaints I've ever made about my husband to my parents are like, he didn't answer his phone when I called.
Sure. Yeah. If there's like he was supposed to do this and he didn't get this at the store, like little crap that everybody complains about is one thing. But like if it's anything that's like bigger than something like dumb,
right, that won't matter tomorrow.
I don't mention any of that to my parents because I don't want them to. They retain some of that, and like in 6 months, be like, oh well, that one time Brandon didn't do this, and like,
he didn't call you back that time, and now you really need him to call you back, and he's not calling you back.
I don't want that. I shouldn't have ever said anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
this is less of a concern. And you're right. And your parents worry about you because obviously they've cared about you longer than anyone else on the planet.
Yes.
And so when you do come to them with a problem, they're going to spend a lot of time on that with you.
Yep.
And longer maybe than you are going to spend on it.
Exactly. So you have to, and my mother is also one of the most caring people.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I have to temper okay, am I just venting? I can't really vent as, or is this something that I really want to talk about? Because she'll want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's very different. But I definitely, I almost felt bad when my husband was like, I don't have a support system. Because I was like, well, I talked to this person about this, and I talked to this person about this. And,
right.
And I was like, I have quite a few people if I needed to. Or if I literally was like, I need someone to come over and drink with me. I would call you, there's a handful of people that I could be like, okay. And they'd be like, all right, see you in a few, I could totally do that, and I feel confident that there would be a positive response to a handful of people.
But, maybe to kind of go back to the husbands, because my husband is similar. Mm-hmm. I don't know what he would say about... I mean, I do think he has at least one friend that he plays video games with that he'll talk to. They'll have conversations when they're playing and stuff. That's more than just oh, you did... good job on that, or thanks for taking care, in-game conversation.
I feel like my husband could talk to people. I just don't think he does.
I think it's possible that the support that he requires doesn't involve having in-depth conversations with people.
Yeah, that's fair.
My conversations with your husband are almost 100% memes.
He has a lot of friends that are. I was like, oh, who's that?
Reels.
And it's like, oh, that's Gil. He sent me a video. Oh, that's Seth. He sent me a meme.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was like, so do you actually have conversations? No.
No, but this is doing what I needed to do.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'll use your husband is a really good example of that for me, because if I were to classify him as an emotional support element for me, it's that every once in a while I'll send him a meme or an Instagram reel of somebody making a joke about the government. And he'll be like, yeah, totally. Or that's terrifying.
Yes.
And we're both just like, I know, right? And then I feel
like
better.
Confirmation. Yeah.
And he feels better because we agree that that's dangerous or whatever. And it's still emotional support.
It is still part of the realm of all of these things that you need different people for different things in your life.
Absolutely.
And I definitely believe that. So, all right, let's drink this
fruited sour, shall we?
Sour.
It's got some... What do we got in there, Lauren? I think it's guava, passion fruit, and orange.
It is Sour Lake. It's called.
Sour Lake is their line of sours. So they had other
guava,
Sour Lake.
Fruit, orange.
Yeah, they had other Sour Lake, and I think I had a different one
this is
at the brewery.
Super abstract,
What is that?
I don't know.
It's
like watercolor-y. I don't know. It's an orange lake. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna drink it.
Yeah. Let's taste it.
Oh, smells like... See, I don't know what guava or passion fruit smells like in general because I've never seen them in the wild.
I think it smells like guava. I've had guava.
I think
a
it
juice
smells
with guava
like guava
in it. It tastes like orange. I mean, it tastes like a tart orange flavor.
It tastes like passion fruit and orange.
Yes, I was going to say with a passion fruit.
The passion fruit has that. It's got orange for sure, which is kind of a weird combination.
I really like it though.
I think the guava comes out in the aroma.
Yeah.
More so. The passion fruit and the orange come out more in the flavor. Mm-hmm. I think the tartness is the passion fruit, though, more so.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe it's the combination.
I mean, I think that orange... I get that citrusy orange flavor, but I think you're right. I think maybe the passion fruit kind of takes it over the edge a little bit.
Yeah, because you taste the orange, you taste the orange, but then something is in the aftertaste I feel like that's more the passion fruit to me than the orange. Because I know what orange tastes like at least.
Oh, sure.
The interesting thing about some of these fruited sours is they put flavors in that I've only sometimes ever had in other beers because I'm not like gonna just eat a passion fruit.
Well, and this is like an ongoing subject for me and you. I really think we need to do our like fruit tasting episode.
All right, we gotta get some fruits.
Let's do some research on the best time to do this because we gotta go with stuff that's in season.
Have you ever seen a jackfruit at the store?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
what does that taste like?
I don't even know how to prepare that thing. Like, what part of that do you eat?
It's like a pineapple, but like a cactus.
Yeah,
but
it's like this weird like conglomerate of things. And I always, whenever I see them at the store, I'm like, I should buy this. It costs a fortune, and I don't even know what to do with it.
I know, right?
But we do need a fruit. We do need a fruit tasting, so we can then rightfully accurately compare.
Yes, let's add that to the list right after we do that 40s episode with Gil, who is joining us when we do that. I don't care what he says.
We gotta do this. All right.
He suggested that we do a 40s episode, you guys,
in
and
honor
I'm calling him
of
out
the fact that we're 40 now.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna I have spoilered it because I want
it.
We
need to
commit. So
all right, Illy, get Gil. On the calendar.
We will come to him. Yes. We will accommodate.
Yeah, we can totally do this.
Whatever it takes.
Okay, 40s. It's on the calendar.
Put it on the calendar,
tasting.
Yes.
Also on the calendar.
And then we'll eat fruit with Ileana.
I feel like we can totally do this. Yeah. Perfect. All right, good plan. It's a good fruited sour. Like, I like fruited sours. It's not overly tart, though. I don't want you to think that it's like a lot of tart. It's actually a pretty tame sour, in my opinion. You
don't get the funky sour flavor.
It tastes it smells like guava. It tastes like orange and passion fruit, and you get a little bit of that tartness, but it's not a sour. Like, it's just that little bit of kind of tart sour taste, but it's not overwhelming at all. So, yeah. All right. Well, cheers.
Yeah. Cheers to you. We'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the latest musings from Parenting by the Pint.
Be sure to find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Have a great week, and cheers to you all.